Introduce.
So, hi, this is Aaliyah. I'm with Mukti Anandama, and we are doing an after talk on the amazing transmission we just received. And I guess I'll jump in. The slingshotting part to me was very apt, and it made a lot of sense that you need a lot of energy to shift a great distance to a higher octave, to a much higher frequency, as to being just below um, a higher vibration, and then you don't have as much momentum or energy or desire to shift. So, as she said, unlike clawing your way out of the world of death, the limited self, this is a slingshotting, which is much different. It just draws you way down, regardless of why. And then, because of those mechanics, I saw it as like a light switch. It just you're in a much higher octave and vibrational state, a higher reality. And so, not to worry, it's on purpose. And that's why I was asking, do you have to worry about acclimating? I mean, you're trying to acclimate to that state and just get used to it.
Yeah, I think that this is important because the one thing they brought up is depending on where you are in your map of a reality that you've designed from a higher beingness, there are times when you are in what they call, or what I'm calling, the slingshot mode. And that I think many are experiencing this, like you've attained a certain level of um, ascended or higher vibrational or more expanded consciousness, and you may be experiencing kind of like you feel like you're almost going backwards. You're experiencing um, energies and frequencies that are lower. And it's interesting because they don't really have the same pull on you that they did before, but you're still being impacted by these frequencies, almost like you're feeling drained. And so as I'm, unfolding the transmission and the understanding, what I'm getting is it's almost like this new identity. So the identity of Mukti Ananda Ma, awareness is going back vibrationally with Muktiananda Ma awareness to see the contrast, right? And in that, there's a great no. Like Muktiananda Ma is like, no,
Right.
no, 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 right? Where the old identity would be negotiating, trying to work around it, busting through it, whatever that lower frequency is. And from Mukti and Anandama, it's like no, and it's a very it's like an inner no. It doesn't mean I'm going around saying no, but it can be both. And in that no, there's power, and it's creative power. It's like David and Goliath, when he pulled back the slingshot. There was a great no. You are not the God of my world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what's happening in this Mukti Ananda Ma's and identity. Is everything that Jen created is a big no. And so that's the best I can understand. It's definitely unfolding. So I don't know that there's a complete understanding of this slingshot because, like, my mind wants to go, well, why is this necessary?
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of understand it like that. It's kind of like Mukti Ananda Ma visiting dynamics going on in the old identities worlds and bringing to consciousness what Mukti and Anandama would and would not agree with.
Well, and it makes sense in the context you're saying, because if you're shifting identities, like Tara is a great example where it was instant, you're leaving behind the limited. It's almost like getting immersed back into whatever you were in as a child and just saying no. And then that momentum, you're just going to be on another
Yeah,
shore and
because
just
there's a
say,
lot of no's going on right now, like as Mukti and Anandama. So
mm-hmm,
it's kind of like all the remnants that, weren't completed and would never be completed with the old identity because
yeah,
the old identity is wired for all that.
yeah.
There's just this no, like no. And so it's a little tiring because it's all no's.
And what's funny is because in Alarian, I'm sure the higher state is encouraging that. It says, yes, let go. Let go. They want freedom for you, for all. Just be free, of the limitation. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no clingy, needy, hold on to this limitation for who?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's profound. I also feel parallels in that. I visited a family member a month ago, and it definitely felt like a drawback. And but yeah, no, I don't want that at all.
Yeah. I mean, we may talk more about this because I think it's important. I also thought it was important, the reminder about time and how our eternal identity that we've selected is going to be aware that we are masters of time. And a reminder if, like they're not going to give the day and the hour, at least they weren't in this conversation, but from my, the instruction was the more you try to sort out the how are you going to get from A to Z, because it's not A to B now, or even A to C. We're not skipping over rungs on the ladder. We're going from the bottom of the ladder to where the ladder is taking us in one great move, right? It's
Yeah,
like rockets. It's
yeah.
like how there has to be rocket fuel or a rocket powerful enough to break through the barrier.
And I love how you framed it with the inner no, because essentially in this pullback, you can just say that no, and
Or
let
just
that go.
recognize your no.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like this Mukti Anandama, is not engaging in the type of life that the old identity, even as enlightened as that old identity was for that identity,
right.
it's not the same way of being, like really nothing fits. That's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
And I can say for myself, I know my eternal self wants you to have freedom above anything else, and the same for myself. Um, that let everything go, no matter what. No, no, and enter the new shore.
Yeah. And so with the timing, the more you can leave out the how or the when, because if you start thinking about the how, you're going to introduce what? Steps.
Yeah,
If you start thinking about the when, then you're going to put distance, right? Because everything can happen now.
right.
And yet there's still an unfoldment because that's what we signed up for, an unfoldment, not an instant, not a desire, a vision, and then an instant experience of it. We have that in other realities, but
Right.
this is not that. So, and I wouldn't want that. It's like you have a vision of having a puppy, and then you have the puppy, then you have a vision of having a life without a dog and the freedom of that, and then you have that, and like you're missing all the puppy time because it's not unfolding. You're just getting the end state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're missing all the adventures in
Mm-hmm.
between the end states and
Right.
or the unfolding of that end state that you're looking for. So it's a good reminder. If you want less time, there will be time, but if you want less time, to let go of the when and the how. Just the all working out of how you're going to get there. The other thing I really found interesting was, um, boy, it just went out of my head. Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, it was very powerful and impactful also because of the way the questions were framed and because of the need. And then the point is, it's not like you're revisiting the same process of clawing out of the world of death, digging out.
Yeah, that's a very effortful thing, and they're not saying that's not necessary at some points, because it is, but this is not that.
Well, for you specifically, this is not that, which is good to know because that just basically just you got it.
Yeah, well, I was doing a lot of that, trying to claw out and use my will and my consciousness to redirect. And that's, I think, what was making me very tired, because that's not
Right.
what the situation calls. That's not what this moment in time is
Right.
about.
It brings me back to something you said to me a month ago because I went, excuse me, to visit a family member, and you said this is about a cycle of completion. And so maybe it's kind of more like that. It's just like a circling back and no,
Well,
no, no,
it's
no.
circling back as a new identity.
Yeah.
So Mukti Ananda Ma would not, the current life, so it's kind of like, until that slingshot is set free, and I, as the identity, am rocketed into the new reality.
Right.
The reality as it is not in alignment with Mukti Ananda Ma right
Right.
now.
Right.
And some of it is, like these talks, and and certain things, but a lot of it isn't. And that is actually, I can think of other moments, of other times in my life where that slingshot has happened, especially in my first enlightenment, where I was basically ready to check out in a really real way. And there was so much no, because the new identity that was being birthed was so more expanded and different, not just expanded. It wasn't just an expanded identity of the old, wasn't even that. It was so new, this identity, that nothing, that identity wanted to come in, nothing um, matched. And so in that, there was a great, what I would call depression. Like, why am I, this is like this nothing, like why am I here?
Mm.
Because there's nothing here for me. And I was feeling that, which is, something I don't often feel. And I mean, like, there can be a decade go by and I don't feel that, because that's like usually a precursor to a big identity shift, a big identity jump, I
Right.
should say.
It's like a signal. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people don't make the leap, and so
Mm-hmm.
they check out, or they cause an accident or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this was feeling like that, and now I understand that it's the slingshot, because even back then my life changed literally in an instant
Mm-hmm.
when I met my first guru, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened in a moment, and I was in two different worlds. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I came from one world, but I arrived in a different world. Totally, I mean, nothing like anything that I could even dream up or think of.
Right.
And so that's what they're trying to tell me. Like, as the, it's almost like, as the light of the new identity, as the matrix of the new identity gets closer and closer to the orbit of the embodiment, you're not fully embodying that new identity yet.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else does not really align with that new thing, but you're still embodying the old identity. Your embodiment is still that.
I'm sure it's a relief to you and many others, the whole slingshotting in the state of the world. Um,
Yeah, and the approach to it,
and the approach to it.
which is important
And
because you don't want to get lost. And
yeah,
but in that moment, I did exactly what they're reminding me of, which is to recognize the no's everywhere and to be open instead of trying to figure out my way out of it. Because up until that moment of time, I tried desperately to get myself out of the depression that was being caused by a life that was out of alignment with this new identity
right.
coming.
And to choose a path, to be decisive, one really has to say no to the other paths. So in that context, it makes sense that one is revisiting in a completion the things that one really doesn't want at all, whether society has told you or it was just the roads you were going down, um, that you can have firm no's and be very decisive.
Yeah, because there's like, it's almost like no turning back. I mean, yeah, it is completion with that identity, that other you become very aware that you are no longer
Yeah.
that identity.
Well, I see that even in myself and the stuff that comes up because I don't, um, like the parent and all the people, just everything, just no. And I know my mission, and that's what I've wanted since I can remember.
Yeah, and so you might be like, for me, I'm in the know. And you can be like, what am I doing wrong? Why do I feel so bad? I'm in the know. Where's the reality that matches this identity? And I guess the good news is you're in slingshot mode. So you can know that there is going to be a moment when you are in a different world. You know that you have entered, you're on the land, you're on the shore of the new world. And I luckily have had that experience, so I can kind of relate. I've done that at least maybe at least two other times. Um, well, one other, two altogether. This might be the third. I don't know. I have to think about it. But I guess I really want to keep talking about it because I feel that there are a lot of us, especially those who are bringing in a divine identity, an eternal identity, who has said no to all the paradigm of this world that you've had lifetimes in. The biggest one, I think it is the biggest, that there is that death is a choice. Not that there is no death, but
Mm-hmm.
that it actually is a choice
Right.
to go through that experience, right? So in a sense, there is no death because you never die, but you can still die because you're going to have an experience of death. But to realize that even in this world, that is a choice is 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 different, right? Is so paradigm changing.
Yeah.
And so there are others that are going through these paradigm, like world foundational changing identities that are bringing this remembrance in, just who you are as a creator.
Yeah.
And they're going through this time of no, like what is going on? I know I am whoever this, for me it's Mukti Ma, for you it's Halia. So what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't the reality that I know and choose here now?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why.
All right.
Because of this completion, I think. I liked how you said that. This completion, and who's completing it? Not the old identity, but the new chosen identity.
Mm-hmm.
For me would be Mukti. Mukti Ananda Ma is completing being the victorious one or the completer of the old identity's life.
Right.
Coming in and saying, no, we are choosing something, not only something different, but we're choosing something better now. And as this identity, there could be no other way. In other words, if poverty was a big part of your old identity, then when the new identity comes in and sees the poverty, it's like, no, this is not who I am. No, I do
Mm.
not accept. I do not think I need to struggle to make da 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 da. I do not think I need to do anything because I am this level of wealth. They'll, or whatever. I am this level of confidence, or I am this level of health, or, and so that identity is just like a no, and that no is needed to bring forth and birth the new creations of the new identity.
Right.
Anyway, hope this is helpful. It's just helpful, just to kind of talk it out and ground it in. Um, kind of grab hold of it and let the understanding bring peace.
Yeah. It is, because you can believe something and then you can know something and then you can have experiential knowledge of it. And we've all heard stories of those that have overcome death, but for some it seems more remote. It never did for me, but you hear of Buddha and Milarepa and Tara and Jesus and all these beings.
So let's just list, like, what are the signs that you could be in a slingshot
You're
phase?
depressed. You don't want to be in the situation that you're in.
Or you're bored is a big one. Like, I can think of
Mm-hmm.
one spiritual leader who has talked about his boredom. And for me, now I can see that he is in a slingshot mode or phase. He may or may not be aware of that. But that's a big sign that he has the consciousness of another identity another identity than the one
Mm.
he's playing in the world right now.
Right.
Um, that is like, no, this is like, I'm so bored.
But you're revisiting projections of your consciousness that you're saying
And
no
even
to.
though that old identity, it's the highest place for the old identity. When this new expanded identity comes in, especially one that is beyond the world, the limitations of that world. So maybe it's a miracle maker. It's going to be bringing in things that were thought to be impossible, like, death is a choice and living that out. There is going to be this sense of boredom because it's going to be like you having grown up and a teenager, and the only things you have available to you are the playthings of a toddler. It's going to be boring.
Right.
So it's good to recognize if you're boring, you may be in that slingshot place. And the way to allow if you want the slingshot to be released as fast as possible, try not to think your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just recognize it as a completion.
Right.
And just, and try not to think of what can I do to get myself out of this. So, all right, very good. I think this is a long one.
It's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.